Hello, good morning, everybody. My name is Mahati. Um, I'm a project coordinator at UNESCO MGIP, and we have my colleague Akash here as well. Akash, would you like to introduce yourself? Okay, Akash. All right, I promise he's here. Thank you so much for joining our session on a Sunday morning. We are very, very happy that you're here. Today's workshop is titled Embedding SEL in Mathematics Classroom. Um,
Hello, Mahdi. Am I
yes,
audible?
yes, go ahead.
Okay, sorry. Hello, everyone. My name is Akash. I'm a digital pedagogy developer at UNESCO MGIP. I design learning experiences using digital tools for teaching learning practices. Yeah, go on, Mahdi.
Yeah. To give you a little bit of background about both me and Akash, we have degrees in mathematics education, and mathematics happens to be one of our favorite subjects. So we are very excited to share the course that we developed with all of you. The course is mostly based on middle school mathematics, which is 6th, 7th, and 8th grades. But if you teach any other grades, we will also discuss how you can probably use some parts of it and extend it to other topics as well. So just to get an idea, we want to know what you do. For example, are you a teacher in a elementary school, middle school, high school? Do you do something else related to education? If you could just briefly type what you do in the chat, it'll give us a better idea of who is in the audience. So we have a teacher trainer. You could also tell us where you're from so that we know principal K-12. Dhaka, welcome. Nice to have you here. Primary math educator and content specialist. Okay. Uh, Thank you, Anupam. We're glad you're here. School psychologist, teacher trainer, teaching 8th and 10th grade, primary teacher, school management. So if you are not wanting to talk to us, please do mute yourself so that we can minimize the background noise. So we have non-profit foundation working for 4 states. Okay. Educators. We have a lot of educators, teacher trainers, teachers. Um, all right. Teacher, academic coordinator. Awesome, awesome. All right. Welcome, everybody. Praveen Kumar says he's a secondary and senior secondary school teacher. Okay. Senior secondary teacher. Okay. Okay, so I will start off by giving a very brief overview of UNESCO MGIP. Some of you might already be familiar with it, but UNESCO has 7 research institutes all around the world, and UNESCO MGIP is one such research institute, and we are based in New Delhi in India. Majorly, our research is focused on achieving the Sustainable Development Goals 4.7 for education for peace, building peaceful and sustainable societies across the world. I will not go into details about this, but we have 3 overarching projects in our institute. And so those are these 3. If you are interested to know more about any of these programs or projects within them, please do visit our website. So I'll start off by talking a little bit about social emotional learning. And this is also something probably if you're not formally using it, you might be informally familiar with these concepts as well. So whenever students come into our classroom, they are not coming in as blank slates, right? They're coming in with a lot of feelings and emotions and things going on around them. And similarly, there are so many other contextual factors that affect our classroom, like some economic changes, some social changes, political concerns, ethnic backgrounds, everything from the society also comes in into the classroom. And similarly, when students are going outside the school, it's a much bigger world. It's interconnected. It has so many different components. So in a way, our responsibility in school is also to build global citizens, right? So that they're able to survive in this world. So, with that, I want to ask you a question. I will start a poll and then you can answer it. I want to know if, in your opinion, we can teach mathematics and other subjects using components of SEL and global citizenship. All right. I will end the poll in about 20 more seconds. If you haven't answered, please do answer. So most of you are saying yes to whether we can teach mathematics and other subjects using SEL and global citizenship. Throughout this session, we will share more examples of how we could accomplish this. That is drawing parallels between just real life and global issues and mathematics in general. And to the people who are saying no, hopefully we would have shown you some examples of how this can be done. And then I have one more question. Um, in your opinion, is SEL and global citizenship related to the current school curriculum? All right, I will end the poll in about 10 more seconds. If you haven't answered, please answer. All right. So a majority of you are saying yes, SEL and global citizenship is related to current school curriculum, and some of you are saying no. So one of the objectives of MGIP is to kind of make a case for mainstreaming SEL, that is making it an important component of the current schooling system. Um, and we will see examples wherein this can be integrated very seamlessly without going too far from what you're already doing in the classroom. So let's go ahead. So we'll do a small activity. This is called Equations in Life. This is one way in which you can see how we use equations in our life. We all do use equations, but it's just that we don't write it out in a mathematical form. So we will try and write some in mathematical form today. So let's consider this example. This is something you might have told your students, or somebody might have told it to you, or this is something we all know. If we sleep late plus we wake up late, we go late to school. And there is an alternative for that. If we sleep late but still wake up on time, we will be sleepy in the class. So now what I want you to do is write one equation about your life. It could be something that you did today. It could be something that you did this week. It could be something that you live your life by. It's any rule that you follow. Always wake up at 4 a.m. IST. Anupam, that's hard for most of us, not all of us. So try to write it in the form of an equation that has some components and which is equal to something else. So we want to know one equation in your life. Do yoga and feel good always. So Akash says playing game and sleeping rest of the day is an ideal day. Grit, positivity plus vision equal to success. Yes, that's really good to live your life by. Education equal to endeavor to encourage. Ah, that's a nice one. To-do list plus self-motivation equals to goal accomplishment. Yes, that's a good way. I love to-do list. Pandemic plus online PD equal to tech savvy. Teachers with 21st century skills. Meenakshi, absolutely. I think this is something all teachers will agree with. Um, Forgive plus be satisfied equal to happy. Yes, definitely. Keep learning plus be curious equal to compete with the world. Yeah. With all the changes that continuously happens, we have to keep learning and be curious, definitely. You don't listen plus you want to tell your own piece equal to missing germs of wisdom. Yes, I agree. We always should listen. Start first thing of the day on time plus preparing well equal to time management. Yes, yes, definitely. Working time plus family time equal to balanced life. Yes, that's a good one. Curiosity to learn plus active engagement equal to knowledgeable. Love plus sad equal to life. that's that's a little bit sad. Apply, adopt, accept, perform equal to life. Sure. Challenge plus failure equal to learning. Yes. Some equations that you can write just to kind of make equations less scary as well, right? If you can associate it with something you're doing in your regular life, then it might become somewhat little bit more relatable. And of course you can add challenges to this. You can say don't use plus sign, you have to use division or a multiplication sign, or you can make it even more challenging. Say you have to use a square, something like that. So you can this is a very versatile activity that you can use, and also bring in themes that you possibly don't usually talk about in a maths classroom, right? So a lot of you are talking about knowledge, experience, happiness, challenge, failure, all these things. This is a good way to bring in all these words into your maths classroom, because in general it's all about numbers. So this is one activity that we hope you can use in your class. So we have knowledge plus experience equal to wisdom. So I really love all your equations, and please do keep writing more equations and also share with your students and see what comes out of it. With that, I will hand it over to Akash. So we have one last one. Keeping mind pleasant plus accept your life equal to happiness. Definitely agree with you, Kalyani. All right, with that, I will give it to Akash.
Okay. Hi. Thanks, Monty. Regarding the objective of the session, as most of you might already know, we are majorly going to talk about embedding SEL into mathematics classroom. So, for that, we would like to introduce a course that we developed to incorporate SEL competencies and global issues to teach mathematical concepts in the classroom. We will also explain like how these embedding can happen. One of the example that Mahdi just now like showcased. There are other examples as well, and you are like free to explore throughout this session. And then we will also like to talk about how you can apply all this into your classroom. So these are like the three major objectives of today's session. Regarding the context, for today's session and the course as well, we are just focusing on teaching data and stats. So which we can see all around us, like in reports, policy, news, and other pieces of information that we are always surrounded with. Sorry, that we are always surrounded with. And for this session, we'll be focusing on how we can teach these concepts using real world issues to teach like data handling, which is targeted at grade 6, 7, and 8. Uh, Coming to the course map, so this is basically the course map of the course that we have designed. So the course is for data science for middle school, and it has like 4 modules, and each of them are designed using real life issues, which you can see on your screen. Uh, this course is like fairly exhaustive, so we won't be like going through the all the elements of the course. We'll be just focusing on one element, which is Volcano for this session, and we'll briefly talk about other elements as well. But for now, let's start with Volcano. So before we start, there are like couple of things that we wanted to share with you. So before starting Volcano, the learners would be familiar with first module, second module. So the first module is basically data and information, where they have like the basic foundation of what is data, how they can infer information from the given data, and other basic aspects. Then they would also be able to organize data, uh, uh, and like know different types of data that they have to organize. So that's in module 2. They would also be familiar with the first part of module 3, which is data analysis. The first part is calculating mean. So they would have completed all these three before heading to this second unit of module 3, which is about Volcano. And in this example, we'll be learning about medium. So before going to the course, uh, I would just like to briefly explain. This course is like hosted on.
Thank you. Good morning.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. I was just trying to mute other people. Okay. So yeah, before talking about the course, I'll just briefly like to talk about the course is hosted on this platform, which is called FamousSpace. FamousSpace is MGIP's engineers platform, which is like free for co-creators or co-consumers, whoever wants to learn and like create content on it. So, and it's free for all. So that's just like giving a basic description of FamousSpace. It offers a lot of features, lot of resources that we'll be able to showcase in the course that we have created. So yeah, so that's more or less about FamousSpace. We'll now just quickly go to the landing page of our course.
Just 1 second.
Sure. So yeah, so this is the landing page of our course. And briefly just saying about the course, each course starts with and has components of storytelling, which is weaving all the concepts and components together. So and it's like fairly exhaustive course. So for this example we'll be focusing only on volcanoes. Um, and and uh, and we'll be sharing the link of the whole course, which you can like go through on your own time if you want to. Sorry, just a moment. Yeah, okay. So we'll be sharing the link of the course, and you can go through on your own time and like see if you like it, or would you like to use it in your classroom. So and also, like, another point that we wanted to mention was this course is, as you know, is linking real life issues with mathematical concepts, and some of them are also like part of eighth grade syllabus, like lightning and earthquake are part of the science subject in eighth grade. So we have been trying to use the interdisciplinary aspects as well. So yeah, so that's along the line like this course is. And for us especially, we really like the natural phenomena, and especially like volcanoes and earthquake. So this is one of the cool things that we thought that might be interesting to like link the concepts with. Just starting on that, we have one interactive infographic for you to explore. So this is like an infographic that you can see on your left side. We'll share the link. Just give me a second. We'll share the link of this infographic, which you can also explore on your phone. Um, yeah. So I've shared the link of this infographic, and this infographic, as I said, like, is interactive. The four circles that you can see, if you click on or hover over each of them. So if you click on one, it will show you like a text and an image, like of a breakdown, like how it happens. Some will provide you definition. Some will provide you like a video. Some will provide you just like how like it happens. So we want you to like take 5 minutes, or 5 minutes, just go through the information that this infographic provides you. And you are free to explore other aspects as well. If you want to like do a Google search and read more about it, of course you can do that. We want you to like take 4 5 minutes to just go through the content like that is given to you.
Okay, so it's 11:23. Please do take about 5 minutes. So we'll come back at 11:28 and continue the discussion.
Yeah. Just generally read about about volcanic eruption, and what consequences happens and stuff like that. Just read about them, and like as I said, you're open to use Google and any other search engine that you use. So just read about them, and we'll follow up after 5 minutes. Thank you.
Hello.
So we are just waiting for you to go through the this interactive image and just explore the different concepts, and then we will come back and talk more about it. Just 2 more minutes.
Could
Go
you
through
please
the.
help me to review?
Ma'am, did you want to say something?
Yes.
We're hearing a lot of echo.
Ma'am, can you separate your PC or laptop from your phone? Can you keep a distance? The echo will reduce.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Yeah, ma'am. What did you
I just
wanted to know?
wanted to confirm whether you can just give me the crisp of the program. I joined pretty late, and please allow me to record the session as well.
Okay. The session is already
Hello.
in recording. And we will be sharing the link of all the recordings of the session.
Hello.
Hello, ma'am. Can you hear us?
मेरे को reply किया ना।
Ma'am, we can hear you. Can you hear us? Hello. Okay.
Suman, we will talk about it in just a second. Please do bear with us.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, ma'am.
Yes, good morning.
Can you please explain all the encircled fields? Because we know that this is volcanic eruption and a heap of ash growing in the air. We can, envision, but we don't know about these encircled areas.
Ma'am, this is just a picture for you to interact with. It's just a infographic that we have made to present different types of information. And that we just wanted you to interact with it. So these circles by itself don't mean anything. It's just a way for us to show you information, and we wanted you to go through it. That's all it was.
Okay, it doesn't mean like as in epicenter something, right?
No, 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 no.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so now we want to ask you the question, and I think Suman had already raised the question, like how is this relevant to maths? We'll come to that. But we want to ask you, in your opinion, how do you think volcanoes are impacting life on Earth? Many of us probably will not see a volcano in our life, but still we learn about it. So we want to ask you, how do you think volcanoes impact life on Earth? You can type your answers in the chat. Or if you want to unmute yourself and talk, that's fine. So any thoughts on how volcanoes might be impacting life on Earth? Right, so Anupam is saying he does not want to face volcanoes. Thankfully, we don't live near a volcano, so it's unlikely that you will run into it. It destroys a lot. Eruption throws off affect atmosphere. They cool down as they shade, also evolution. Okay. Okay, so it's impacting in a way the atmosphere and it cools down the atmosphere. Okay, the question is, how do you think volcanoes impact life on Earth? I want to type it in the chat. So Maria says volcanoes can impact in different ways, like killing plants and wildlife. Yes, that's one of them. Limited sunlight for days, probably because of the volcanic ash and smoke. Right. Volcanoes destroys many species. Yes, that's true. Do you see any positive impacts of volcanoes? Yes, volcanoes are destructive. Right, the purity of air will be soiled and it might cause breathing difficulties because of the different gases that come out of it. Yes, it does. It does provide minerals. So after it cools down, it probably provides minerals. Fast-moving lava can kill people, and falling ash makes it harder to breathe. It also does relieve the pressure inside the Earth's crust, because if there's no volcanic eruption, it probably would create a very large earthquake. Aquatic life can be affected due to increase in acidity, increased turbidity, change in temperature, change in food supply, right? Um, yes, 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 absolutely. So one more thing I want to say is volcanoes have a very large scale impact, right? Somebody was talking about how it changes the atmosphere and it might trigger changes in the weather and in the climate as well. So even though there's a volcanic explosion like many, many thousands of kilometers away from us, it might still impact us in the sense of it might cause a drought or it might cause other climatic changes which have impact on our lives. So this, in a way, is a good example to show how interconnected we are, because even geographical distance does not matter because it's triggering very large scale worldwide changes. Massive destruction of whole evolution. Okay. Um, Okay, so from here, as you all have pointed out, there is, if we can talk more about the dust that comes out of it, we can talk more about the lava and the minerals that come out of it. We can talk about the destruction. There are so many different aspects that we can talk about volcanoes itself. So unpermitting causes global cooling, has potential to promote global warming as well. All right. So even though we can take many, many different tangents, we will talk about one specific aspect of volcanoes in this section, which is the danger that volcanoes pose to human life. So like all natural disasters, volcanoes can be dangerous for us, and sometimes many lives are lost due to volcanic eruptions. So we are going to look at some data of number of deaths due to volcanoes in the last 40 years. Um, right, so Shanti is saying eruptions destroy cities that disappear from the map. Absolutely. So it can have very devastating effects. So here we're going to first look at the number of human lives that have been lost due to volcanoes over the last 40 years. So this is a table that has the year of occurrence, the location, country, and the number of deaths in this table. And then there's a pictorial representation on the world map here. So the blue dots represent the location of the explosion, and the size of the dot represents how many lives were lost. So you can see here this big one. The bigger the circle, that means the more damage it has caused to humans. So I want you to take just a minute to look at all these numbers and just scan through them, and then I have a few questions to ask you. All right, so the question I want to ask you first is, by looking at this data, do you feel that all volcanoes are equally dangerous to human life? Please do try to answer the question if you haven't already done so. I'll stop the poll in about 20 seconds. Less than half of you have answered. So go through the numbers and see um, if you feel like all of them are causing equal damage to human beings or no. All right, I'm going to end the poll. So most of you are saying no, and some of you are saying yes and can't say as well. So looking at these numbers, if we look at this big one, it has 23,000 deaths because of this one explosion, versus there are others who have very small numbers, right? Like 3, 4, again 3 here. So very small number of people are dying in some other explosions. So because of that, I would say that not all volcanoes are equally dangerous for human lives. It could be for different reasons. And again, that is something you can dig deeper into. Did the volcano occur where there was no cities nearby? What happened? Like, why was this? Why was some less dangerous than the others? That is, again, something you can dig deeper into with your students. So next, I will ask you a little bit more mathematical question. This will take some calculation. So bring out your calculators, phones, whatever you need. And then I want you to calculate the average number of deaths per volcanic explosion. So I want you to calculate the average number of deaths. So the way to calculate average would be to add all these numbers and then divide by 19 because we have 19 different explosions. So I see some of you are approximating and answering. That's good. That's good. But also try to calculate it. Calculate the average or the mean. Are all of you guessing? Is anyone calculating? Okay, I see one correct answer. Come on, teachers, you got this. Okay, I'm going to stop the poll in about 20 more seconds. Right, okay, I'm going to end the poll. Okay, so I have received responses for all of them, but the correct answer is 1434. So if we add all these numbers and divide it by 19, which will give us the average death rate, that would be 1434. So what is this number telling us? When we calculate the average, what does it tell us? What does the average tell us generally? Right, right. It says per volcanic explosion, about 1434 people are. are losing their lives, right? So then I want to ask you another question. So let us compare 1434 with the other numbers that are here. So if we compare the average to the given data, how many numbers are less than the average? The average being 1434. Right. Abdul is saying not every volcano is not so much destructive, which is correct. Praveen is saying if all were causing equal destruction, average would be the number of deaths in each of those. Right, right. You are correct. Okay, I'm going to stop the poll. Right, so most of you are saying 17, which is correct. So if we look at all of these numbers, most of them are less than 1400, right? Only two of these values are much bigger. Rest of them are very small. So my next question to you all would be, in this case then, is the average a good representation of the deaths due to volcanic explosion? Can I say in general about 1434 people die per volcanic explosion? Right, Shantipriya, it might be. She's saying death rate might be low, but the impact on life is very high. That is true. But in this case, we will concentrate on the number of deaths because we don't have data for the other aspects. But you are right, you are right. Skewed interpretation derived due to average number. Yes, I will stop the polling. So yes, so one thing is that some of you are saying yes and can't say as well. But the answer, in my opinion, is no, because if I would say 1434 is the mean or the average, that would give me like a little bit of a skewed image, right? If I don't see this data, I will think, oh, on an average, about 1400 people are dying, but that would not be the right interpretation because some of them are not dangerous directly to human lives. And some of them are overly dangerous, like 23,000 people are affected. So in this case, because mean is not helping us um, represent the data very well, so we'll have to use another metric to say that, okay, in maybe like 50% of the cases, very few people are dying. And in about the other 50%, like maybe more people are dying. So this is where in this module, we introduce median, because here we have characters that represent mean and median. So we say because mean is getting influenced very much by small numbers and by large numbers, he wants to take the help of his friend median. And then median comes in and he explains what he does. He splits the data into two separate parts, and then he talks about these two parts separately. And then the rest of the module goes in detail about examples of calculating median. And then finally, we come back to the original data, and then we organize it in a descending order. And then we find where is the middle value. Since there are 19 values here, the 10th value would be the middle value. And our median would be 43 because it's the absolute middle. So we can say in about 50% of the cases, less than 43 people die in volcanic explosions, which would give us somewhat of a better understanding of the dangers due to volcanoes. All right, so I hope you got a little bit of an understanding of how our module runs and how we use real world examples to teach mathematical concepts. So we'll go back to the slide. So now I want to ask you, if you were going to teach median to your students, what kind of an example could you use? So what other example can you think of to teach median to your students? All right, looks like most of you are tired or are thinking. So let's take a short break. I think we have an answer. Volcanic eruptions of volcanoes in 10 years. Yes, that would be a good one. But if you can think of another example, please do. Um, we'll take a small break for about 10 minutes. It's 11:50 almost now, so we will come back at 12. And then when we come back, we will talk more about our thought process behind selecting an example like this. Um, and then we will discuss further about how you could probably extend it to your classrooms. So Sumana saying population in different states. Yes, that would be a good one as well. So, so let's take a break for 10 minutes and then we will come back. You don't have to leave the session. You can just be here and then we'll resume at 12, which is 12 minutes away.
Hi everyone, welcome back. Hopefully everyone has joined us again. We want to resume the session as we were left. Hopefully everyone has taken a nice break. So before like going any further, we wanted to explain why we chose this example, the example of volcano. I'm sure like other people might have thought in the beginning as well. So there are many reasons, but we have condensed it to three major reasons. We designed our learning outcome first, and we identify what we wanted to achieve. So we wanted to show the students that not everywhere mean could be applicable, and this is the place where median could act as a key role. So we wanted to do that. That's why we had like a specific learning outcome. Then for this example, we needed data which is skewed and distorted, just like the number of deaths in volcano. And of course, the mean was not a good representative of the data. And based on our requirement, the number of deaths of volcano was ideal to like explain the concepts of median. And also, this was in sync with the previous unit, which was again on natural phenomena, and the next unit also, which is in the module, which is again on natural phenomena. So these are the major three reasons that we wanted to choose volcano. Another reason was that we liked natural phenomena in general, but we haven't mentioned it here. So 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 this is like the general explanation. We now want you to Mati, can you like yeah, we now want you to like look at this image that is like in front of your screen, and think of a way that you can use the content of this image in your classroom to teach like whatever you want to. Like it could be any subject, it could be math, it could be science, it could be chemistry, anything. Just think about for like couple of minutes and like write your thoughts, like how you can use the content uh, of the given image in front of you for teaching in your class. Yeah, we want you to like think, collect your thoughts and put it in the chat. I can also send you this image so that if you want to look closely to the image, you can. So I have put the image in the chat. If anyone wants to download and have like a closer look of the image, you can. And just to give you like a brief overview of the image, this is like the data of water-related disasters from 2001 to 2018. Uh, there are uh, there are numerous chronic as prone areas, there are non-prone areas, so and so on and so forth, with damages, deaths across like continents. So we want you to like look at the content and think of a way of or two three ways that you can use the content to teach in your class.
So just to repeat, we want you to think about ideas that you have. What concept can you teach based on this image and these numbers?
Okay. Concept of unit, decimal, million, dataset categories, occurrence, death. Yes, definitely. Math is like relatively easier to show rainfall, temperature, humidity. Sure, that could also be an entry point that we can come up from, and like then we can like take it to rainwater harvesting and other like global warming, other things as well. That's a good point, Suman. Graphs, analytical paragraphs. Graphs, analytical paragraphs. Yes, we can. There are various visual representations that you can go through this one. Uh, Yes, definitely. I could think of like an example. Say, so you guys can see like the dark green areas and the light green areas and the lighter green areas. So we could have, so the dark green areas are basically the prone areas which are largely affected. Okay, globally people affected and correlate water in river volume to people affected. Yes, definitely. Percentage and ratios. Yes, again. So what I was trying to say was you can set up like a dialogue between the people who are residing in these areas. It could be like an intercultural dialogue where a project based learning module around combination of yeah definitely mitigation strategies with interdisciplinary. Definitely, Purva, we can teach mathematical concepts. We can also do a dialogue between these people and the people residing in these prone areas. We can have like a talk about their lifestyle, the challenges that they face in on a daily basis, and then we can also like talk about various strategies that they have come up with to cope with the after effect, the aftermath of the disaster that has encountered them. It could again go to various dimensions of subject. It could be approximation model for math. It could be uh, chemistry lesson. It could be science lesson. It could be geographical lesson, so on and so forth. We can like dive into like deeper, taking the entry point. Interview and reports, yes, Sunjata, we can do that. Talk about geography, key rivers in the world, and history, river-based civilizations. Yes, we can do that. We can talk about how people have been affected, like a whole timeline setting up from 2001 to 2018. Yes, we can do that. Any
Just to add to Sangeeta, um, so when you're doing interview, this would be a great place where you can build on SEL skills as well, right? Like empathy, compassion. You can have conversations between people who are in a place which is very different. For example, we live in India, we are a little bit more flood prone than, for example, Northern Africa or Middle East. So that this could be a great place where we exchange our views and have some dialogue between different cultures as well.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
and also like building on the same point that Mohdi was saying, even in the prone areas like India is shown like dark green, but not every area in India is affected uh, like the same, and other places in India might be affected. So even a dialogue between like citizens of India could be beneficial as well. Okay. Okay. So so these are like just like some ideas, and it could be more. And depending on how and what you want to like achieve in your classroom, you can use them like as an entry point. There could be many conversations along the lines of competencies of SEL and imparting uh, empathy, compassion in a form of dialogue at Sunjata mentioned, or like other ways that you can talk about it, like impact of river on culture, food, living, and development. Yes, that could also be a very interesting entry point for all this data that is in front of you. uh, yes, all of them are like great points, and we would think that some of these examples you can take to your classroom and make your classroom more engaging. With the help of this, it will be very satisfying for us. With that, I would like to hand over to Mahati.
Thank you, Akash. So thank you for all your responses on this. So Amulya is saying a project-based learning module around a combination of topics. Definitely. So our approach was just to show you a little bit of the kind of topics that you could incorporate in your classroom. And so we'll see a little bit of overview through the modules, and we will explain to you our thought process behind the examples that we chose. And just to let you know, these are just some examples, right? When we talk about volcanoes, there are so many other things about volcanoes we can talk about. And when we talk about median, there are so many other examples we can use as well. So these are just some examples that we found were applicable. So in module one, where it is just data and information, it's an introduction to what is data. So there's no particular theme over here. Coming to module two is about data organization. We have tried to use man-made global systems, like every country has a government system, and then global peace index, environmental index. These are some things which are man-made. Then moving on to module three, which is data analysis, we looked at some natural phenomena. So most of this module talks about naturally occurring processes. And then when we move to data visualization, it's a culmination of all the learning students have done so far and just representing their understanding visually. So here as well, in terms of the themes that we have chosen, it's a combination of man-made and naturally occurring processes. So our focus is a little bit on impacts of climate change and specifically on water. So we talk about water, we talk about floods and droughts and melting ice caps and sea level rise in this module. So we'll briefly go over each of them and just highlight some important points in each one of them. And of course, we will share the link. This is a free course. It's open access, so you can use it. You can use parts of it. You can go through the course for your own self, however you choose to use it. So module one is an entry point to the course, and here we do a lot of context setting. Here we introduce some characters. This character here, his name is Addy. So one aspect that we do throughout the course is we introduce different characters as per the topic that is going on. And most of our characters are not teachers, they are companions for the students. So they have many flaws as well. So Addy, for example, is not very good at mathematics. So at several points in the course, he actually says like, oh, I'm confused, like, can you explain to me more? And he also says that yeah, he says like, I'm confused or unhappy or things like that. So he also expresses his emotions throughout the course. And then another thing we do is games for reinforcing. So we show a concept, we explain it, and then we kind of use games for students so that they can reinforce their learning. Moving on to module two, here the objective is to introduce different ways of organizing data. And so here our main character is Mr. Table. He looks like a table and he explains how we can organize different types of data. So here we have used three different examples to explain nominal data, ordinal data, and continuous data. So let's take the example of nominal data. So nominal data is any data that has labels, but not necessarily an order. So I want to ask you now, if you were going to teach nominal data to your students, what kind of examples would you use? What kind of data could you use to show nominal data? Sports, that's a good one, Akash. Sports, we can ask our students what's your favorite sport, and then the data that comes out of it is nominal data because they're all different labels, but they don't have an order. Cartoons, definitely favorite cartoons. Choice of food, that's a good one. Choice of cars. Baljeet, you're saying blocks. What do you mean? Can you elaborate? So in this session, we are not seeing anybody using marks. So that's a good one because that's an easy one to go to. So this is good. Things related to daily needs. Choice of colors and blocks. Yes, choice of colors is a very good one. Names of people, gender. Yes, absolutely. All right, so we will show you the example that we have taken. We have used government systems to explain nominal data. One thing we have done in this course is we have used freely open access data or data that's available from magazines or newspapers or things like that, where people have easy access to these articles. So we have taken an article from Economic Times in classifying 4 different government systems, which are flawed democracy, full democracy, hybrid regime, and authoritarian regime. And so the whole of this module talks about few countries of the world, and then we see what kind of governments they have, and then we go on to organize the data by government system. So this is one example for doing nominal data. Again, this is just one example that we thought was relevant, but of course you are free to choose other examples which have a similar kind of data. Moving on to data analysis, we saw the example of median already. So now I want to ask you, if you were going to teach mode to your students, what kind of data would you use? So in mode, what we do is we look at the data and see which one is occurring the most number of times, which number or which label is occurring most number of times. So if we were to teach mode, what could we use? Birth month of the students, which month is most frequent? Yes, yes, that's a very good one. Product sales in a company or shop, yes. This is the most typical example of mode, because if a company has to sell something like t-shirts, for example, I will make the most number of t-shirts in a size that is highly occurring. Age, height of students in a particular class, yes. Favorite ice cream or food in a class. That would be a good one, right? If you know the mode of your uh, favorite ice cream, then it's easy for you to buy them ice cream. Skill in assessment data. So, Mohammed, are you trying to see which skill is most commonly lacking, and so that you can address that maybe? Hobbies of a particular age group. Yes, yes, that would be good. If you know what your students are interested in, then you can probably structure your lessons around those topics. That would be a good one. So we'll show you what we thought of for mode. Um, we used earthquakes, specifically because earthquakes are a part of the um, Apurva saying emotions experienced by students in a particular grade. That would be fantastic. Because if you know most of your students are in a particular mood, then you can probably structure your activities around that as well. So coming back to earthquakes, this is a part of the 8th standard science syllabus. So that's why we chose it. And then specifically why we chose it for mode is, if you can look at this picture for just a second, we see that most of the very large earthquakes are occurring in a very specific pattern, right? They're occurring on this line over here, and then on this line over here, and then a little bit over here. So these lines are very specific because that's where the tectonic plates meet each other. So even in the past and in the future, earthquakes are more likely to occur in these regions, which is again a concept of mode, right? We are looking at where is it most likely to occur, where is it highest occurring, that sort of thing. So this whole module focuses on earthquakes that have occurred in the recent past, and we look at what is the magnitude of it, where did it occur, and then we identify the mode in all of this data. So before we had started developing this course, we had no idea that earthquakes had such patterns in them. So I would definitely encourage you to look at these topics. And then probably there are some things that you already know of, but you didn't use it in a specific way. Or you can get new ideas of looking at data of how you can use them in your class. And finally, moving to module 4, which is data visualization. Here we look at different types of graphs and plots. We look at pictographs, bar graphs, double bar, and pie chart. Here I want to ask you if you were going to teach double bar graph. So double bar graph usually is a comparison between two different categories. If you were going to teach double bar graphs to your children, what kind of examples could you use? Favorite subject, if you were going to compare it between two students, maybe? Yes, yes. So I will also encourage you to age of boys and girls, year-wise trends, yes. Favorite games, vegetables consumed in your family, yes, in the last 2 months. I see a lot of it is circling around your kids, right? Like their favorites, their skills, hobbies, heights, things like that. I will also encourage you to go beyond your classroom. Like what can you think of outside your classroom? Assessing reading and listening skills, right? That could be a good one. Can you think of anything that's like a societal thing, environmental thing, something like that? Literacy rate between men and women. Yes, that would be an interesting conversation to have with your students. Why is there a difference? Things like that. First world and second world countries progress based on particular parameter. Yes, that is also a thought-provoking conversation to have with your students. Number of family members, gender differences, comparing pollution in two different cities. Yes, gender pay gap. Yes, these are wonderful examples. See, like you can branch out, you can go beyond your classroom. And it can also be what is happening currently outside, right? Like corona cases, weather forecast, yes. Which country is dealing with calamities better and why? Right, so we'll show you an example of what we did. This is actually awareness about SDGs in different age groups. Yes, that could be an interesting one. Developing countries and developed countries, yes. So we use double bar graphs to compare floods and droughts, and this is a little bit based on the data that you actually saw in the graph, the world map. So for example, here we have the number of occurrences of floods and droughts by continent or region. For example, if we look at Africa, they have 676 floods, and this is our double bar maker. So over here, if I write 676, it creates a bar for me. And then I have 124 droughts. So as you can see, as soon as I type it, it's going to create a bar for me. And then one other thing that I could do is change the unit. So if I made the unit too big, the bar would be smaller. If I made the unit too small, it's almost going out of the picture. So that's too big for us. So let's make it bigger. So this is a double bar graph maker, and this is specifically coded in for this course particularly because we've seen that it's a little bit hard to find tools like this where you can readily make bar graphs, double bar graphs, pie charts, and these sort of graphs. So these are some tools that are specific to this course. And of course, these are freely available to you. You can use them however you wish in your classes. So we have developing economic growth of the country. And then Sweetie is asking for feedback link. Yes, we will share the feedback link in just a second. And then you can add feedback. So with that, I will hand it over to Akash.
Yeah, thanks, Mahati. So as Mahati like showed, each module and the whole course is quite built around like the components and of storytelling, components and elements of storytelling, because we wanted the learner to be engaged with the content. So you can see like characters like Addy, then there is Median, other characters which are like trying to like take the learners through the said module and said unit. So we have that overarchingly throughout the course. We have used like interactive medias, as the one that you might have seen in the volcano in the beginning. Interactive images, interactive infographic, and the other form of media that are present in the course to disseminate information. We have used like real life issues with an approach of with problem based approach to like teach students the relevant the respective concept of that unit. We also have uh, for reflective feedback, we have like open-ended question and feedback for students who are using it on at their own pace are going through the course. Uh, we have that. Then we also have like peer discussion where the student can interact with other peers who are attending the course and like share their feedback and their learning as well. And we also have like customized mathematical tools. That one of the things that Moti just showed, like the double bar. We have other tools as well, other third party resources that we have tried to link in our course, and we have like customized some of them as well. We'll be sharing the details of all the links and third party resources that we have used by the end of this presentation. So that's more or less the features of the course and how you can use this course. We so when we had learners to test out this course, they found it very engaging and they could like independently go through the whole course. So one of the ways is have the students like go through the course on their own. If a teacher finds the content of the course relevant and the learning outcomes are meeting the teacher's learning outcome, so they of course they can ask their students to go through the whole course by themselves. They can also use a blended or hybrid approach where a teacher talks about for certain amount of time introducing the concept, setting up the context, and then ask the student to go through the course or part of the course which the teacher find it relevant for them. Again, just reiterating what Mahati said, this course is like free. It's like licensed by CC, so you can use all the course, part of the course, any other element that you like of the course, and you can. Yes, Baljit, we'll be sharing the link of the course, and you can go through on your own pace, and you can recommend to other people and students as well. So yeah, as I was saying, a teacher can choose to use part of the course or the whole course as the dean sees fit. With that, we'd like to open the floor to you. If you have like any other questions, anything related to what we have discussed, shown materials, anything that you think, or any other feedback or suggestion that you want to give us, that would be helpful as well. We'll also be sharing the feedback form for the whole session in the chat. If anyone wants to fill that out, we can share that. That would be like a little later, but we would love to hear from you like first. If anyone wants to like voice it out, that is also cool. You can just unmute yourself and say it. Or you can, if you want, you can also use the chat. uh, which link, Anupama, which link do you want, like the feedback form or the course link? Or feedback form? Okay, Moti, can you post it there?
Yes, I will post.
Yeah, Aryan, you have your hands up. Do you want to say something?
Hi Akash, my name is Aryan. I'm from
Yeah.
Global Citizenship Foundation.
Hi.
Akash, I
Thanks
have
for
one question.
sure.
Since your platform is GDPR compliant
Yes.
and data of the students is protected,
Yes.
so what is the way of having an overall, what do you call, statistics or data assessment of how the students are going about it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is there a
So
way that we can use the data for the entire class?
yeah, sure. So as a teacher, when you log in and you have this course, so whoever students are like whichever students are enrolling in a particular cohort that you are designing, maybe if you want to like separate your classroom from other people who are taking this course who are online. So if you segregate that cohort and whatever responses the students fill and whatever module they attempt to, you can have like a clear data of that as a teacher, as a facilitator on your dashboard. But you won't be able to like tell like which student is which, because of course like GDPR compliant, you cannot like have the name. But you will know like this student, because we assign a particular ID to a student. So you will know like this student is performing this one, or this student has not completed this module, and so on and so forth. You will have that data. You can also like download that data if you want to, but you, at any point you cannot like link the actual name of the data to the ID that you get on the data. I hope that answered your question. Aryan, you there?
Thank you so
Okay.
much. I think it does.
Okay. Okay. Thanks. Any other questions you guys might have? We are like we would love to hear it out. Mm, okay. So since we shared like the feedback form, we want you guys to like go through the feedback form, because the name we would like to know the people who like joined us, and the names are important. Yes, the course is on Famous Space. We'll share the link of the course as well, Ian. So Ayan, sorry. We'll share the link of the course in here as well. I was saying like the feedback form is relevant for us because we would know like whom we have to like generate the certificate for. So please fill out the feedback form for that. So as I said, I was just saying before, these are some of the tools that we have used, and some like most of them are free and are premium products. Just to give you like a brief intro about premium products are those products which have like some free features and some paid version features. So we have used the free features, of course. Yes, ma'am. Sorry. Yes, Ani. We'll be sharing the course material link. We'll be sharing the whole PPT, and it will have the link. It will have all the links, relevant links that you want. So as I was saying, these are some of the tools that we like and we use throughout the course. There are some other links that are hard coded and customized for the course as well. So you might need a little bit of coding experience for JavaScript and other things to inbuild. For example, the double bar graph that you saw. So there are some other tools, but we tried looking for it, we couldn't find. So we had to like custom code it. So these are some freely available tools for you to explore. Now we have like a small segment where we just briefly introduce about the SEL component. If anyone wants to like go beyond this math syllabus, or like go beyond just like the material that we have provided. So MGIP has an SEL blog on Medium where teachers, practitioners, and learners can come and like look for various learnings that other people might have while sharing while in the field of SEL. So there's like a community there who frequently shares ideas and their experience on SEL in their classroom, in their life, and so on and so forth. You can also like contribute to it if you have like such experience and you want to share it with your community. You can categorize them into like three categories shown in the screen, and you can send your 100-word write up to Aditi. We'll be sharing the link as well, so don't worry. So, and you can also sign up for the SEL newsletter, which again comprise of SEL resource bank that you can go like frequently look into, like yeah, and tap on. With that, we like to like hold it out, and this is like our contact details if you want to. Thank you, Kalyani. Thank you, Aryan. So with that, we'd like to hold it down, and this is like our contact details. If you want to like reach out to us with anything related to math or this course, we would love to like hear it out. And we'd love to like if you want to like use part of this course or some or the whole course in your classroom, we'd love to help you out with that as well, because this is like one of our like favorite subjects that we like, as Mahati might have said in the beginning. So we want it to be beneficial for other people, and if it is, nothing could bring more happiness to us more than that. With that, I would like to hand over to Mahati if you want to like say anything else. Thank you, Ani. Thank you, Kalyani ma'am. Uh, Mahati, you there? Okay. Yeah, we would like everyone to like fill out the form. Thank you everyone. We would like to everyone to fill out the feedback form so that we know that who attended the session, and generate the certificate accordingly. And if you have like any question, we are here. You can ask us, or you can leave if you want. We'll be sharing the details, like the PPTs, the links as well, like in couple of days. So uh, so that's assured. Yeah. Thank you.
Uh, Akash, thank you so much. Just one thing, like when we were giving examples, this is just an observation that um, I made. Uh,
Yeah.
would it be okay if I share?
Sure. Hang on. Yes, we can share. Okay.
So, Akash, one example that a lot of teachers were giving were very, what do you call, gender binary. So, when we talk about SEL and when we talk about identity and diversity and things like that, so giving gender binary examples could be avoided in the interest of ensuring diversity and inclusion in classrooms and making classrooms feel more safe for kids.
Yeah,
So
of
that was
course.
one observation.
Yeah,
Thank
I agree. I agree. So yeah, one of the things that we wanted to like get away from was like typical examples that we like see in our classroom, right? So if you go through like parts of the course or some parts of the course, and I completely agree with you, like we should get away with these kind of biases and like these kind of data. But so if you want to like and also like some of the teachers who like took the course, they had like this point, and I don't want to counter argue their point as well. So they said that it in some way it might be helpful to like as a point of reference where people can like talk about these serious issues as well. But that would be like a different tangent that they want to. But I completely agree with you. Most of the people, they gave like this gender roles examples just to like just to have like those kind of discussion. But yeah, I agree. Could you please share the example apart from data handling for SL to embedded math lessons? Uh, Unfortunately, we haven't like we started like working on something for algebra, but we have not yet like finished out fleshed out that course. So this is completely for data handling as of now. Hopefully, we'll be able to do it in the future. Aryan, that does that answer your question?
Yes, yes, absolutely,
Thank you,
Akash.
thank you for making that point though. I really appreciate we really appreciate that point, and that's what we were trying to like not having like marks as an example, or like these gender roles as an example. Thank you for making that point.
Thank you, Akash.
Thank you, Amulya. Thank you.
Akash, just to add one thing, when you were talking about using mathematics, right? So
Yeah.
one of the things that a teacher that I know developed was a lesson on identity and diversity using mathematics, telling them the importance of, like, how important diversity in our lives are, right? So
Yeah.
she used mathematics for that, and it was quite interesting to see.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So yeah, so what I was trying to say, maybe I failed with my words. So what I was trying to say, like these kind of serious discussions need that kind of specialized instruction planning and delivery. So usually, what you are saying would be like a fine example of like diving deep into it. But usually, what we see like as an example where the gender roles and identity comes is just like in a demeaning manner. So we recommend other teachers to try to avoid that, like as giving grades as gender. But if it is like carefully laid it out, it could be a good entry point for these kind of serious discussions that could lead can lead to like long term consequences. So it's always good to have like these kind of serious discussions, but it should be like properly laid it out. Like as you are saying, like your friend laid it out quite nice. Yeah.
Yes. So that was more like a part of GCED and SEL
Yeah. So we
embedded within mathematics.
yes, that would be interesting. Would you like to like share the link, Arya? Like we would love
I,
to
I
go through
could
that.
try sharing. I could try sharing the lesson plan with you if I could find it.
Okay.
Uh, that would be something that I'll send it to your email ID.
Sure.
Thank you,
That would
Akash.
be great. That would be great. Thanks. Thank you, Anti. Thank you, Suman.
So if you have submitted the feedback form and if you don't have any questions, please do feel free to leave the session. But if you want to chat with us or just ask us questions or share anything, you're welcome to stay. Thank you so much, all of you, for attending our session. We really had fun interacting with all of you. Your examples were fantastic. We can stop recording, right?
Yep.